Yes, people, we're back again, back with another show, back on this channel, and it's time for In the Hot Seat, and I've got one of my favourites in the house, man. Big up Matisse, how are you, my bro?
Very good, bro. I was just bopping to that beat. Do you know what I'm saying? I was like, I was just making myself comfortable, man. I'm good. I'm good. I've recovered from last weekend, just about recovered from a couple of days ago against Leeds. I've had a couple of proseccos before coming on, so I'm chilling.
Man, you need that this time of the life, man. You need that when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
literally watching what you're watching. That's where we're going to start, man. Before we do
yeah.
that, make sure you all follow him in Matisse. I'm sure you all are, man. It's only 3 letters. Go whack him on YouTube and make sure you're subscribed to his content. And make sure you do the same for this, man. Like and subscribe. Our next target's 20K, almost at 17. So let's make sure you're following the channel, people. Listen, Matisse, things have been crazy over at your football club, my bro. And do you know what's mad for me, right? Your
Mm.
fan base are bizarre. Like, I do content with a lot of Chelsea fans, and I big up to all of them. Like, literally, they're all great lads. They always support me, and always support them if I can. Big up to Goonie, who was on my channel earlier. He's had enough. He's just
I
done.
know. Yeah, I was speaking to him on the phone the other day. He's pissed, and rightly so.
Yeah,
Rightly, I
and
get it.
but do you know what? Like, I listen to your content all the time. You know, I love Big Six. I love the boys that are on there, but there's not many fans like you, Matisse. It's mad. There's a lot of Chelsea fans that are still trying to support this. They're still trying to say it's Todd Bowley's fine. There's no problem. There's a lot of this fan base that are like well against Poch, rightly so. In parts, it's
Mm,
been terrible, but I think there's a whole world of pain that isn't just Pochettino, but that's just my opinion. But I want to
mm.
know where you're at under this new regime because Roman Abramovich is now old news. He's gone. Thomas Tuchel is now old news. You've got Pochettino, Todd Bowley, and the team now, and things haven't been great, mate, this season. And I have
Mm.
to say, and this isn't me just moaning because you know what I'm like with Arsenal and Arsenal fans. If this was
Yeah,
Arsenal in this scenario, I
yeah,
would not hear the end of it, mate. It would be horrendously bad. And I think Chelsea, in a way, have got away with it a bit, in my opinion, because what we're seeing has been shocking, my bro. Like, I
yeah.
honestly can't believe what I'm seeing. And it's been terrible, man. And this is,
Mm,
from, in my brutal, honest opinion, how not
yeah,
to run a football club. So that's my opinion. But over
yeah,
to you, man. You live it and breathe it every day. So what are you feeling right now?
yeah. It's frustrating, bro, because I feel like we've bitten off more than we can chew, and like some people, they pinpoint a time period where we signed Lavia or Caicedo from Liverpool, and they pinpoint that exact period where, rightly so, most Chelsea fans were elated and excited because those are two players that are really, really like high potential players, in my opinion. Did really
Yep.
well last season for their respective clubs. I think Caicedo was really just outside team of the year for me, outside of Odegaard and Rodri and I think it was De Bruyne I had in that midfield three. And then of course you have uh Lavia, who did brilliantly. You Arsenal fans will know at the Emirates, he was unbelievable in that game. He
Unreal.
really performed really well. So those two players, the players that I know, which is very few, which I've always said, because I'm not a scout, right? So there's a lot of players that we've brought in that I don't know, and I've said, right, we have to see. We have to trust the scouts. But I've always said it's high risk, high reward. And what I mean by that is it's high risk because you're signing players that are scouted, and of course, they're not highly sought after. Some of them have been hijacks, but most of them, under the radar deals and Petrovic and Gusto, and some are working and some are not. And it's high reward because, of course, if you get them all right, then wow, you've saved yourself potentially some money on some of those players because their valuations are going to go up. But my thing is the extremism with everything around that. I think the first team signings, when I look back on them at the end of the season, I'll probably say that, okay, some have missed, but there's actually some good ones in there. But when you go and buy Strasbourg and you want to buy a Portuguese club and you want to bring in Washington and Datro Fofana and you want to bring in 3-4 right wingers, I didn't even cover these transfers because I said, I don't care. Like, let's make sure that our home is well kept, clean, our bed is spread. Let's make sure our home is well looked after before we try and do more than we can, more than we can. We're biting off more than we can chew. And I've always said that with the multi-club model. I've never really liked it because I feel like every club should be individualistic to itself, its community. Every club was founded based on its surroundings, and I don't like everybody buying up a club and Man City have got 12 clubs under their roster. It works for them. I get the business, but I don't like it for football. I don't feel like that's what football's about, but I get it. But if you're going to do it later. Do it after. And the reason why I bring this up is because it has to do with our performance. Dacha Fofana's on loan at Burnley. Washington's in the under-21s. He doesn't make the bench against Leeds. You know, Andre Santos is sitting on the Strasbourg bench. Cassidy was cup-tied for Liverpool. This is lack of legs in midfield, Pochettino says, because we don't have energy. This is money. This is real money that you're spending. 20 million a pop, 15 million a piece. It all adds up. And then when people talk about $1 billion spent, they wonder where the billion is. Because when Gary Neville says, oh, the £1 billion bottle jobs, people want to get into antics and say, oh, but the team on the pitch is not worth $1 billion. No, it's not. It never will be, because half of the $1 billion is either injured or on loan. And that for me is confusing, because I said, you're all, and I said this on Twitter so many times. I was chasing up Chelsea fans who were saying, oh, we need to buy this kid. We need to buy this kid because he's unstoppable. He's undroppable. He's a fear of missing out. And I said, so are you trying to tell me in 2 years there won't be another name? Sanchez, Marquinhos, another 15-year-old from Chile, unstoppable, unmissable. There will always be another player. So why do you feel the need that we have to get all of these deals done in 2020, 23, 24? Why is that? Because it's attacking positions in particular that are flary and, you know, they're positions that people gravitate to in terms of entertainment. So when you see a kid, you think, rah, this guy's going to be the next Mbappe, Messi, Ronaldo. No one says who's going to be the next Nemanja Vidic, you know? So people get excited. People get excited and they gravitate to it. But for me, like, you have to call it as enough is enough, because the first team needs addressing. It needs to be balanced. It needs to be well-oiled machine in its recruitment. And it hasn't been. It's been too heavily focused on potential. So a lot of that billion that people talk about is not a fair representation of what we have in the side. A quarter of that is actually on midfield. A quarter of that billion is on Lavia, who we've not seen once, unfortunately. Caicedo and Enzo. That's a whole quarter of $1 billion. And then I'd say I haven't done the maths. I'm going to do it soon on a video that I'll probably present at the end of the season. But I'd say about 150 million of it is on players that we don't even use. So that's what frustrates me. I feel like the intentions are questionable, because we don't know the end goal, which is, are you trying to make a profit? What are you trying to do? Right? We're going to find out. But it doesn't look good right now, because there's a lack of accountability for what we've done wrong and what we need to improve on. And there's a lot of, oh, it's fine. The data backs it up. This is where we're heading. This is where we're going. And for me, it's like, you need to reflect on what you've done. No team ever has spent $1 billion, not Liverpool, not City, not these comparisons in press conferences. No team ever has spent $1 billion and been in the position that we've been in, regardless of the context around that. So whether it's you're signing players that are medically questionable, like Fofana off the back of a long-term injury, Nkunku who missed the World Cup, etc., you got to reflect. Whether it's the medical team right now not being able to keep players fit, you got to reflect. Whether it's, you know, playing players out of position, leave our Cole at left back, even though we're still struggling on wide areas and we're getting smashed up while Maatsen goes on loan to Dortmund, while Lewis Hall is at Newcastle. You got to reflect. You got to look at everything and say, right, regardless of what we think we're planning to do and what the data suggests, football's not played on paper. Like, it's a nice indicator, but it's not fully played on paper. On paper, Manchester United should not be in the position they're in, but they're in it. Not saying that that's sustainable, not saying that that's something to follow or something to aspire to be, but they're there. And that just goes to show you that football is unpredictable. And it's something that you have to take the intangibles into account. You can't just go off data, because by data, they shouldn't be in that position. I've been watching them all season. It's fraudulent how they're there, but they're there. And it can happen every season. On data, you could lose every season if you want. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I just want a bit of accountability. I just want a bit of reflection. And I want someone at the football club who's been there and done it in a high position. You know, I look at the manager who I wanted. I already held my hands up and said, Raj, you know what? This guy looks like he's not going to be good enough to even do the bare minimum what I asked him to do, which is European football in the league, which I don't think is a high expectation, you know, when you're not playing in Europe. And a lot of Chelsea fans will be called spoiled or impatient for wanting European football when you don't have Europe. You have one game a season after this amount of funds allocated to the squad. I don't feel like that's a unrealistic expectation to have. If it is, then my God, are we shit? Wow, we're really, we really got problems. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, no one can ever predict how many injuries we're gonna have and all that stuff, but you should be able to make European football with no Europe. If you can't do that after having a shocking season and then climb yourself back into the ranks, then it's a problem, right? But yeah, it's just at every level there's something to question, bro, because these people are new. They haven't. My thing is, when I said, when I was like still giving Poch time and I was still trying my very best. I've never really, since he's come in, I've not done too much propaganda on Twitter, which surprises me, but I've tried to, give him time, give him benefit of the doubt, because I believe in him. I don't think he's as bad as he's making himself look. But it comes a point where you're like, right, you're not making sense. So not only on the pitch is things not making too much sense, not only in-game management tactically is things not making too much sense, but also then the way you speak is kind of alarming and is questionable in terms of comparisons to Klopp and Pep and Liverpool and City. And it's like, it feels like you're a mouthpiece for the people behind you or the people higher than you, which you've probably had with Wenger. And I was starting to hear things that it doesn't feel like you're saying them. It feels like maybe Egbali or Win Stanley or Lawrence Stewart are saying them, and you're vocalizing them. You're speaking for them, telling us that, we need to come out of the dark. We need to come out of the Roman era. Before Roman, we finished in the top 6-7 years in a row. We won the FA Cup, won the League Cup, won the Super Cup, won the Cup Winners' Cup, beat Real Madrid in the final, had Zola, had Hullet, do you know what I mean? Like, don't try and gaslight me into thinking that the Roman era is what I'm trying to get back to. I'm trying to get back to being competitive. I'm trying to get back to respect, not getting absolutely trashed to Wolves 4-2 at home, battered by Brentford and losing. Do you know what I mean? So let's have a bit of middle ground. I feel like, don't try and say we expect to win the league, or I'm not even expecting to qualify for Champions League. Just try and meet us in the middle. Because what's going on right now, let's be honest, is not acceptable. It's embarrassing. Yeah, there's no other way to look at it. And I feel like once people reflect and be a bit more accountable for the situation and actually say, do you know what? Fair enough. It isn't good enough. We're going to try and get back. Like, meet us in the middle. I feel like it would be less toxic. But yeah, I just struggle with it, man. It's rough, because I can see that it's like a kid in a candy store. There's so much going on, upheaval in terms of staff, in terms of players. A lot of money's being thrown at it. So I'm not even here to say that you don't care or you don't want to do something, because if you didn't, I'd assume you just spend no money and just completely, let the thing waste away. I don't think this is a great way to make money. I think you'd be better off investing in stocks, but I just feel like there needs to be some reflection done and just correct some wrongs and bring some balance to the team, because there's no leaders, bro. You saw it at Wembley. The way that these men shriveled up and froze was mad. It was wild, bro. I've never seen a team like that, misplacing touches. And even in the second half, like after you've had your 10 minutes to chill, they're still shit in the bed. So it's long, bro. It's tough. Tough
it is, man. It is. Listen, before I throw some questions at you, me and Sam have been going back and forth together and on shows about, is it Poch? Is it the team? Is it Poch? Is it the team? Now, he's adamant that Poch is a good manager and that the team are just absolutely shocking. And I've been toing and throwing and flip-flopping with it. Now, my start was, this team I don't think is great. However, I was then looking at Poch thinking, what the hell is he trying to do? I'm looking at all sorts of problems with him tactically, positions that he's playing people out of, formations he's trying. I don't know what he's trying to do with Enzo. I don't know what he's trying to do with Ben Chilwell, other players that we can mention as well. But then I look at it sometimes and I think, yeah, I don't really want many of these Chelsea players in my side. So is it the team? So I want to ask you, man, like, where are you at with Poch and how good is this Chelsea side?
Yeah, I've spoken to Goonie a lot, because he really doesn't rate the team at all. Like, he really doesn't rate the team. And listen, there's no evidence to suggest that the team is good enough to a degree in terms of a lot of them, because they have very small sample size. A lot of them are young players, but Declan Rice, for instance, is a young player. I think he's 22, 23, but he's got
23, 24,
vast amount of it. So he's the same age as Mudryk. but he's got a vast amount of experience behind him. It's mad, isn't it? But he's got
Yeah.
like a vast amount of experience behind him, like 5 years at the top level. Captain, led his team to a trophy, has played week in, week out. He's durable, etc. In comparison to us, maybe he's not 23. Maybe he's older. I don't know. I'll Google it.
Rice is
But
24. Yeah, he's gonna be
is he
25.
24?
Yeah, 24. But
When
yeah,
did he turn 24? January. He only just. Oh, he just turned. No, he just turned 25. Okay, this
25.
brother's
There you
older
go. They're
than I
saying in the
thought.
chat. Sorry, so he's
Damn,
just
he's
turned
older than I
25.
thought.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies, but I'm getting old. But
Same,
yeah,
bro.
like,
Same.
but we can even go to a Saka or we can go whatever. There's players that are the same age as our players, but they don't have the same game time as our players, like same match experience at the top level.
Yeah.
They've come from clubs where the pressure's a lot lower or the level's a lot lower, the Ukrainian league, the Dutch league, whatever. So this is a massive step up for them. Now, that's not a problem if you balance that out with players that are ready-made and ready to go and leaders and, someone to fall on, which is what Sterling's meant to be, what Chilwell's meant to be, but they're not really pulling their weight in terms of these leadership roles, in my opinion. But I do think there's talent there. Like, one thing I'll say with the recruitment team is I do believe that they've found some good talent. Like, I've always said that. I've never said that Petrovic is not a good buy. That's clearly a good talent.
Yeah, he
Gusto,
looks all right, doesn't he?
good talent. Badiashile started really well. He's kind of fallen off since the injury, but he started off really well. It looked like a very shrewd move. I'm sure it still
Malo
can be.
Gusto as well.
Yeah, Gusto's there as well. I love the midfield. That's my favorite part and probably the only part that I knew about. Jackson looks like a really shrewd move. I know he's not a finisher, but he brings something to the team. I think if you purchase a gunman and have him next to him, then
Shouldn't have taken
you've
him
got
off
good
the other
balance.
day, by the way. Don't know why I
Yeah,
took him off on Sunday.
yeah, he gave I think, well, I don't know if it's what is tiredness or what, but he gave Konate a proper runaround. He really gave him problems. I think Mudryk he reminds me of Sterling in a way. Funny because they both compete for the same position, but like Sterling can do something out of nothing. He can produce some magic, and you're thinking, "Rah, this is a top player." But then he goes and does something really stupid a minute later, and you're like, "That was literally what an 18-year-old would do." Mudryk, tactically, you can see that he needs like instruction. You can see that he needs like clear, defined role, which is fine because that's kind of what most players these days need. We're gone from the days of Mavericks and freestylers and tens and players that play on instinct. They all need systems and instructions. But he can go from looking like a teenager 1 minute to the other night it was Leeds, but he showed little glimpses. You're thinking, okay, there's someone there. But there's too many players like that where maybe there's something there, and there's not enough guarantees, and that's where the performances are inconsistent. But this is why I look to the recruitment and I say, right, it's fine for you to bring in these young players because they're talented, but you also need to now think, why do we need a Duran from Aston Villa? I called him Jason Derulo, right? 20 years old, has scored 1 goal. He's his backup striker to Watkins, never gets played. Why do we need him? Why do we need to buy another young player when we've already got Washington? We've already got Fofana. We've already got Whispers. We've already got Amando Breuer at Fulham, who's not getting game time. We already have Jackson. It's this level of extremism and this level of, I don't know if it's ignorance or naivety or whatever, but it's this level of neglect that is making me think you man have to go, or you man need to be pushed down a peg. And this is where I call for a top director who's been there and done it at a top club, who can say, I'm going to veto your decisions and I'm going to tell you what we need to build this team, the rest of this team properly, or I'm going to guide you towards the end because you've never done it, right? You've come from Monaco, Brighton. You've bought young players at these clubs. You've developed them and sold them for a profit. We don't do that around here. We need to win. So you haven't won. So I'm going to tell you how we do that. Your talent is fine. You found the talent, but can you scouting talent is 1/3 of the job. Then the next third of the job is the development of that talent and the integration of the talent. We don't get those other 2 parts right. We do the scouting. We don't do the development because there's pressure and there's not a balance in the squad. There's not leaders, training ground. I always say it, players learn from players. We don't have a player out in the wide position that can be an inspiration to a Mudryk or a Madueke. But then you also look at the integration as well, and you think, right, well, we've got all these young players out on loan, they don't play. Washington is in the under 21s from Santos for 20 million. Santos is in Strasbourg bench. He was at Nottingham Forest, he didn't play. The integration is wrong as well. So But this is what happens when you do too much. So for me, it's there's layers to this. There's so many problems that
Yeah, man.
it's very detailed. It's a long thing. It's a long situation, bro. It's very,
No, it
very,
is, bro.
very
It
mad.
100. Listen, what you're saying, I think is true, man. Let's chuck some of these questions at you then, bro.
Mm.
This one, I mean, you've kind of touched on some of this. Do you see Chelsea winning major honours under Todd Bowley's watch?
So I have to clarify this, right?
Go
Todd
on.
Bowie is not the guy calling the shots right now.
Cool.
So because of Todd Bowie's very lavish and extravagant beginning, which was I'm gonna arrive, I'm the face of this consortium, I'm going for hot what did he say? I'm going for a wonderful meal in Barcelona to speak to Laporta. I'm saying we're gonna beat Real Madrid 3-0. He's
That's it.
become the face, he's become the meme, he's become what everybody speaks about because they remember him because he's the guy that started this all off, right? He was the one that wanted Ronaldo and was texting Tuchel and he was in charge. But then in January of last year, he took a step back. That was well reported. And then Egbali started to take a more day-to-day role and a more overseeing of the club's duties. And then that's when the Win Stanleys come in, the Lawrence Stewarts, the Christopher Vavell, who left in the summer of last year as well because he didn't get enough of a say. That's when he started to relinquish the power and say, I'm not a sporting director. I'm not that guy. I'm going to give it the keys to people who have been there in these roles. Now, this is where my problem lies. The guys that have got the keys have maybe been promoted, which is not unheard of. Villas-Boas was a scout at Chelsea. He then became a manager at Chelsea, and then he went and managed. He managed Porto, Chelsea, club in France, I believe. Like he's a manager now. He was a scout. Jose Mourinho was an interpreter. He became a manager. Like people can level up. That's not a problem. So our guys, Winstanley and Stewart, and they've come from Monaco and Brighton and Derby County and Wigan, right? They've upgraded. They've now got the responsibility. They're now leading. The problem is they've never led in this position. Even someone poured it to me on Twitter, no problem. They said Edwards came from Portsmouth and Tottenham, right? Everybody has to start from somewhere. Everybody. But my problem is there's nobody, not a single person that I can find that has been there and done it. So there's no guarantees. There's never any guarantees in football, but there's no like experience at the highest level. Everybody's learning. Everybody's developing. The directors are developing. The players are developing. The managers developing. The ownership's developing. If everybody develops, great. But that's very, very unlikely that it's all gonna just, you know what I mean? That's very risky. You need someone to just, I've done this before. Don't worry. Let me tell you how this goes. Do you know what I mean? That's what, as fans, I feel like for me, I would feel a lot more comfortable if I knew somebody was in there who has got on their CV these honors, this squad build. I've done this, and can rattle them off and no problem. Okay, cool. At least I can trust in you because you've actually accomplished something. So yeah, it's mad. But in terms of look, Edu and Arteta both newbies as well. Yeah. So, but when people make comparisons to Arsenal, to Liverpool, to Man City, this is where I draw the line. I say those guys are singing off the same song sheet. Edu, Arteta, they're working in tangent. Aubameyang out the door, right? Lacazette out the door, etc. It took time, but it they got where they got. Tiki, Pep singing from the same song sheet. Edwards, Klopp singing from the same song sheet. When Stanley Lon Stewart or whoever's calling the shots, right? And Poch, everybody knows Poch likes Gallagher. Gallagher's been up for sale the last 3 transfer windows. Every time Poch gets asked on Gallagher, he says, I like him. I rate him. I'm going to play him. Okay, what about his future? I don't know. It's not my business. You're not in line.
Working
you guys
together.
are not working.
Nah.
You're not working together because they're looking for pure profit. You're looking for results, and you believe he's integral to that. You're playing him a lot. You've given him the armband at some points. That's not working. When you're signing Washington from Brazil, on top of Datro Fofana, on top of Whispers, I know Poch don't know these players, but you're stacking them up, stockpiling for profit down the line. That would be okay if we were winning, but we're not. So allocate the funds better, prioritize better. Strasbourg fans are pissed and you know, they're calling for your heads with billboards. Why is that happening so early on? Why focus on us? We're the mains here. You're looking at the starter, garlic bread, and don't fill up on garlic bread. Start. This is the main course. We are Chelsea. Like, focus on us. I don't want to see you guys trying to make this club and that club and that club and this massive spider diagram and network. This is the middle of that diagram is tapped. It's messed up. It's not working. So how can the legs start to be? How can the branches of the tree start to be healthy and to grow if the tree trunk is literally in 10th, in 11th? Do you see what I'm saying?
Facts,
So
bro.
for me personally, I just think they're doing too much too soon, and I think people just need to start reflecting a bit. They really do need to start reflecting. It's not all bad,
Man.
but it's led to a bad position. Yeah.
Listen, this next one is kind of segueing into the future a bit. Who do you want as the next Chelsea manager if Poch is sacked? Who would you like to see Chelsea go for?
I'm not speaking on this because I wanted Poch. I made a video, right, where I said the fan base are gonna chase me out of here. It's my fault because I'm a director. Because I signed these players, you know what I'm saying? Because I played Colwell at left back. But here's what it is, right? I never thought this manager would play this way with these players out of position. I'm not gonna lie. I thought, you know, he'd play fullbacks at fullback, centre backs at centre back. I thought everybody would just play in their position and it would actually be more simplified and more basic. But he's actually maybe picked up a thing or two from Pep or whatever, and he's seen Vardy at left back and now he's got Colwell at left back. I don't know what's going on. So he's doing things that I never expected him to do. So I hold my hands up. He's moving a bit madder than I ever thought he would. So because of that, I said to myself, I made a video. I got chased out of the studio by my own community. I said, "Rah, I don't know, bruv. We can even play the video if you want, bro. Do you want to see it, bro? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, man. No, go on.
Bro. Let me send you the link, bro. Because I need you to understand the severity.
Share your screen in it, and I'll share it on here.
I need you to understand the severity I've gone to not be involved in this conversation any longer, bro. Like, I'm at a point now where I'm not interested in this conversation because I've got it horribly wrong. I'll own up to that. So what I want the decision to be made by somebody who knows, like, who gets paid to do this. Like, I want a top director to come in and be like, yo, this is what we need to do. This is who needs to be the manager for the squad that you've built, that you've already put in place. And I'm gonna select that guy. And whoever that top director is that makes that decision, I'll trust in their decision because that's their job. A sporting director is always meant to come in before the manager. We sacked Tuchel when Todd B was still a sporting director and hired Graham Potter. That should never have happened. They should have bit their tongue. They should have said, right, we don't like Tuchel, but we're going to wait until we appoint a sporting director that we trust, that is, you know, a top one. And they're going to appoint the future manager. And then we can do it that way. Graham Potter doesn't work. We get to where we are now. So, bruv, let me show you, bruv, because this is what I'm on. This is what I'm on, bro. Let me just skip
the video.
Bro, I got kicked out my own studio, bro. I'm just doing a normal video.
To the YouTube channel, you already know what time
Watch.
It's
It's a quick clip. I got kicked out, bro.
Single damn time, and subscribe if you are new. Pause. What? I didn't even say anything mad. No, I actually mean pause the video. If you think anyone wants to hear from you again, you googly-eyed bastard, after you destroyed our club, you've got another thing coming. Wanted this Maurizio manager, pick up your camera and what's left of your dignity and get the fuck out the studio. No more videos for you, big man. No more. Boy,
it's long.
Down over here, come take a look at this. You see this?
Look outside, bro.
Caused this.
Look at these Chelsea fans, bro.
That's right. The Chelsea fans are outside your house. They're ready to sacrifice your soul.
Look, those idiots don't even know where we live.
You know what I'm saying, bro?
You better pack a bulletproof vest and that ski boots will always be wearing.
So the video, yeah. Long story short, like, I'm trying to save face. They're not interested. We move. Trying to come up with new tactics. Not interested. I get kicked out my yard,
Not
bro.
let
Look,
it hit you on the way out.
I got kicked out, bro.
And make sure you put them Oreos down before you leave. Ain't nobody told you to touch those.
Look, bro.
You dickhead.
Yeah, look, man. See why I'm cussing myself
Furthermore,
out.
Bro, I love this.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Bro,
I'm done.
mate, there's man, that's actually class as well, by the way. Big up to you. The chat are cracking up laughing at that. Oh, it's mad. And you know, like I've asked a few Chelsea fans this. What do you want? What do you want? Like, if I was a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't want none of these. I think you've put yourself in a really bad position now, management wise, and I'll tell you why. You can't really get a win now manager because you don't have a win now team. If you ask for a win now manager, you need to back that win now manager with a window that's allowing them to get the players in that's going to allow them to win now. So what I mean by that is you go and get, let's just go say, I'm just going to throw some names at you. You go get Pedro Neto, Victor Osimhen, Michael Maignan in goal. You go get an absolute baller in midfield like a Barella or somebody like that. And you go, do you know what? We're actually going to go and have a go now. I don't see that happening. So what you might have to do is go, okay, who are we going to have as a project manager? This project manager thing was supposed to be Poch. So now Chelsea are in a right mess, bro. Like proper mess. So I don't know, man. Like it's a tough one.
When I said I wanted him, it's because I believed in him to develop young players. Because that's what he did at Southampton, he did at Tottenham. When people look at the PSG, I said PSG didn't need developing. They had Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. That was a win now manager. He's not a win now manager. He's not a Carlo Ancelotti. He's not a Zidane. So I never correlated that job with Poch is not the right guy, because we don't have Drogba, Lampard, Ballack, Essien, Cech, Terry. If we had those players, I'd never call for Poch. We have a young team that have the energy to press. They need developing. So I said, right, Poch, because he's done that in the Premier League and he knows this league. It's a safe bet. It's a safe option. In my opinion, that's where it was. It's what the board clearly thought as well. So he hasn't been able to kick on the careers maybe at the way I thought he would. Obviously, maybe he'll draw to the injuries or there's context. Cool. I sympathize with that. But if you finish 10th, you finished outside of Europe, I don't think that's good enough. I think that's below the objective. I think that's a failure. So there's a conversation to be had, and I think he'll probably have to walk.
Yeah, man.
But because we've spent the money, you can't just run. Like, don't go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't go anywhere, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just because we sack him, it doesn't mean all our problems are solved. It doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. We have to get someone that can develop these players. We've invested too much money into this squad to just start again. Like Goonie, I get Goonie, right? He doesn't like the squad. He doesn't rate the squad. He thinks, but it doesn't matter because you feasibly cannot like rip that squad out and get a new one. It's not happening. So you have to develop them. You have to make the best out of whatever you've purchased and get that squad ticking. And the only way to do that is to get someone who can develop players. So for me, we have backed ourselves into a corner. We have to see it through, and we have to hope that a manager is going to come in and can potentially, like a Postecoglou at Tottenham or wherever it is, and they can fix this mess. But yeah, man, it's
it could be long, man. It could be long. Well, looking at the squad, this next question is about the squad. What positions do you think Chelsea need to strengthen this summer?
I'm always embarrassed to answer this question because when you spend as much money as we have, we shouldn't be asking this. That's genuine. Man. Like you shouldn't have to, and I said this to someone on Twitter. They were like, oh, well, we've spent the money to bring the young players in and now we need to bring in, more players and then we'll be fine. I said, what? Like, what? We shouldn't need more. So now we're looking at, okay, people are saying we need a left back because Cucurella and Chilwell are overpaid, overpriced. Especially Cucurella is overpriced. Chilwell has won the Champions League, but he's not been the same since the injury. It's not
like over 100 million though, isn't it? Right there that you spent.
Yeah, on left backs, yeah. And for me, Chilwell is not one. He's not indispensable. Like when Reece James comes back from injury, I'm like, yeah, that's a baller. That's a guy that
he is a baller,
when he's back, he's the guy. Chilwell's not that guy. But because they were playing wing back as a pair, it's like McTominay and Fred. They both got put into the same Jorginho and Kovacic. It's like Reece James and Chilwell. I see these friendships, these little connections people like to draw, and they're like, oh yeah, Chilwell and Reece. I said, no, there's no Chilwell and Reece. It's Reece James and it's Chilwell. They're two separate players, two separate ceilings, two levels of ability here. Now, yeah, for me, when it comes to Chilwell, I think we can improve upon him. I don't think he's indispensable or untouchable. So the left back situation is interesting. Now, if we were shrewd and we were smart, you know, maybe you look at a Maatsen, you look at a Lewis Hall, who we let go to Newcastle. These are potentially guys that don't cost anything that you could, again, look to. But again, you've got to develop them, right? You've got to, and these guys would suit better in a team full of some seniors and some leadership. And then they're just playing their part and it's easier to develop, but the whole team's young. So it's a risk. Striker is obvious. We need a striker because I like Jackson. I've always liked Jackson. I took a risk in saying, okay, I don't like the striker market in the summer. Personally, let's just see how Jackson does and we'll go to January. Cool. Didn't work. We need more goals. Broyo really didn't pull his weight. Come back from injury and he just was not firing. He was like honestly like non-existent in the AFCON period. That guy didn't pull his weight at all. He didn't bring much to the table. So we need a striker. The market's tough. You got to make the right decision. Once you blow your load on whatever player you want to buy, you got to make sure that works because we've spent a lot of money on strikers and it's failed many times. So we have to get that very right. But Jackson's a good player. Need a striker. And then the midfield I wouldn't touch. I think out wide, we have to get someone in because I think Sterling is a concern. His wage is really high. His work rate is really low at times. He's very inconsistent. He plays like a guy in his early 20s at best. Mad. His decision making is crazy. He can score. He can provide quality, but it's too inconsistent. And he's not a leader, in my opinion, either. Because if he was, he would square it to Jackson or Palmer against Wolves when we're away from home on a 3v1 with the keeper. That's what a leader does. A leader doesn't shoot and miss and, you know, be greedy. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that signing. I wanted Jesus, who obviously ended up at Arsenal. I was big on that one. You know. But yeah, so he's a concern because I think it's very difficult to tell his motivation to be here. I called it when he signed. I said, why is he coming here? What does he want? In a respectful way, what does he come here to do? Because he's won the Prem. He's won everything he wants to win. So what is he coming here to do? When he says he believes in the project, I'm like, you're not going to be here when the project is even peaking. Like you're not going to be playing football if this project gets off the ground. By that time, you be done. You be finished. So why are you so invested in the project to do what? Are you going to be a coach? Are you going to develop the players? Are you going to take a leadership role where you train them and give them your attributes and you tell them how it is to be a top? Like, what's your motivation? Why are you here? And that's always been the question with him. So it feels like a vibe thing, which is unfortunate, but everybody has it at their club, someone who's on a vibe thing. And obviously he wants to be in England squads, which is easy to do in the Prem. Mudryk and Madueke are not ready. They're very inconsistent, and it doesn't help because the front three is important in top level. You need to score goals. You need to be cutthroat. You need to be, you need to put the ball in the back of the net. You need to have your decision making on point. These guys are inconsistent, so we probably need a winger. But yeah, to need all these things, bro, to need what, 3 and a goalkeeper. Probably need a top goalkeeper as well. Petrovic might become a top keeper, but he's not yet. So either you fix his cross collection and his passing, long range passing, or you buy a top goalkeeper and make him second choice. Sanchez is not good enough. I said it when he came in. Should never have signed Sanchez.
Yeah, he looks terrible, man. I don't rate him.
Yeah. He was a sweetener for Caicedo, and we didn't even get anything out of that because we still overpaid. So you probably need about 4 positions, maybe 3-4 positions. I wouldn't want to do more than that. Just like the summer just gone, I didn't want to do more than 2-3 because I feel like we've just had too many players in and out. But yeah, probably 3-4 positions we need to get a spine. But that's
no, I'm with you. I mean, I'm with you. I think the positions you've said are fair. I can't argue with any of them, man. This is where it turns fun now, bro. This is where the stream turns fun because there's no more current Chelsea questions. It's all good laugh, good banter questions now, man. Lovely. And some of them are linked with Arsenal and Chelsea, man. So this is going to be fun for both of us now. So I get this question a lot, right? Yeah. I'm going to put up now. Get this question a hell of a lot, and I answer it truthfully, and some people don't answer it truthfully. But I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to kind of give a second question on top of it as well, right? So I always get asked this: who's the bigger club, Arsenal or Chelsea? Now I always say Arsenal, and I believe that it is Arsenal. So I'm going to ask both questions. First of all, who do you think is the biggest club? And second of all, if you don't think one's bigger than the other, how can that club get bigger than the other? If that makes sense to you, Matisse.
Yeah. I think our European pedigree and our European history makes us bigger. Honest to God. Because obviously domestically you guys win more leagues, more FA Cups, but I think not every trophy is equal to me. So I have to ask the question to Arsenal fans, how many FA Cups is equal to one Champions League? And then times it by 2. Like, if you could, how many FA Cups would you swap for a Champions League? Because I know I'm swapping probably 3. That's like we've won the Champions League, and I know how big that is. Like, it is crazy. Like, Champions League, I can't describe the feeling. It will send a grown man into tears. It's the only competition that can move me. Premier League, when we've won it, I've loved it. You know, I've absolutely loved it. But it's a marathon. So you're building up to it, and by the time you win it, unless it's like an Aguero last minute, you know you're gonna win it. So the dopamine is not the same. I'd kill for it now because we haven't won a Prem since 2017. But do you know what I mean? But you're building up to it. You know you're in it. So, but you know, it's a excitement that's kind of dragged out, and you're Champions League, that last pen kick from Drogba, or that that final whistle against Man City. Honestly, like, man was dizzy, bro. Man had a headache. Man was like, bro, thankfully I managed to capture this. The second Champions League win on my channel. I did a watch along with Monstar, Dami, and Saj was my best mate, and he's a Man City fan. And bro, anytime I'm pissed about Chelsea, I just go back and watch that, because I just know the level of, like, I just know the feeling that ran through my body when we won that. And it's one of the best days of your life. Like, that's all I have to say. It's gonna be, if and when you guys win it. I don't know, like, if I'll be here or you'll be, like, I don't know when you guys will do it. But if you do it, I'm telling you now, when it happens, you'll be like, yeah, that was the best day of my life, like, by far. So,
oh man, I can only imagine. Unfortunately, our European heritage is embarrassing as a football club. 14 FA Cups, 13 league titles, the global fan base, the stadium, the youth facilities, the fact that we're classed with everything we do has always put me ahead of Chelsea. I understand what you're saying in relation to European heritage, and I can't have an answer to that because, unfortunately, our football club has not won the European trophy of that. We've won Cup Winners' Cups, Fair Cups. You can go through all that and start going down the West Ham route if you want. But for me, it's already about Champions Leagues. The only reason...
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is, though? This changes. It's always like, who's the bigger club is always going to be a conversation that flips. Yeah. So, like, when people are asking about Nottingham Forest and Everton, and
that's what I was just going to bring up. That
Forest they don't have the size of the, they don't have the global fan base that our clubs do. They've not been relevant. So if Chelsea become irrelevant for the next 10, 15 years, we're not going to be bigger anymore, regardless of Champions Leagues, or because we're going to be historic. We're going to be documentaries. We're going to be Animal Planet. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to be in the. Do you know what I mean? Like, and our fan base size will suffer because of that, because everybody that gets into this sport is either going to the ground for the first time, or they're watching Champions League from America. And if we're not on Champions League for 5 years on a row, we're going to lose fans because we're not on TV as much. So this is always something that's ever changing. If we become irrelevant over the next 5-10 years, not winning anything, we're not going to be bigger anymore. Same as those clubs, regardless of what you've done. Our fan base is huge now. Massive following in Africa, Nigeria, because of Drogba, Kalu, Essien, all of these players that we had are, like, us and Manchester United in Africa are absolutely huge. I know Arsenal as well. In Nigeria in particular, Man United and Chelsea are massive. Obviously, you guys in Ghana and elsewhere. Obviously in America, big following as well. I'm sure you guys maybe have the bigger following, of course, in Asia, massive market as well. So, but we're not Nottingham Forest or Everton. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that Nottingham Forest are bigger than Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to say that.
Yeah. I think people, because what happens is Chelsea fans go, well, we're bigger because we won European Cups. And then people go, oh, so Villa and Forest are bigger than Arsenal as well then. And you got the right answer. No, they're not.
You got to do it recently.
Global fan base, and you got to do it recently. Exactly. Yeah,
you can't.
No, it's a good
Yeah.
question, man. And I think listen. We're always going to disagree because we're Arsenal and Chelsea fans, and that's why really those sort of questions should be given to the neutral, to be honest. But I thought I'd
Yeah.
throw it at you anyway, bro. I'm going to talk to you about two Arsenal players now that you know very well.
Oh
The
dear
first
Lord.
one is this guy.
Oh
Um,
dear. Oh
should Chelsea
dear
have kept
Lord.
Jorginho, and has he been a good signing for Arsenal, Matisse?
I like Jorginho. I've always liked Jorginho. I got into
Okay.
many an argument with Chelsea fans over Jorginho. I gabbed Marcotti on my channel years ago. He waxed lyrical about him. I was so happy because I always felt like this was a player that was disrespected, unappreciated. Yes, he's got physical limitations, but appreciate what he does and what he's maximized in himself, because obviously we know he can't be stronger, he can't be faster, he can't do it. So is he making the most of what he has? Yes, he is. And he's intelligent. He's got leadership qualities. His personality is on point, always has been. And I think Arsenal have seen that, in their dressing room. And he's a very intelligent player. He scans, he's press resistant, he slows down the game. And now it's funny that Chelsea find themselves in a place where we're playing basketball football and people are tired and people can't get a grip on the game and control. And this is exactly what this guy does. We brought him on at the Emirates under Lampard, I think it was. We were losing. We went on to win 2-1. Tammy Abraham scores the winner, I think, and Lamptey came on that game as well. He changed the game. He literally changed the game. He came on and he changed the game. He gave us some control. He's captained the club. He's won things. He was next to Kante all the way through those rounds in Champions League. I've got enough respect for Jorginho. I always felt like we needed a different type of DM as well, because we know the Premier League's very physical. You guys are using him probably in the right way. You're not using him every single week. You're using him as a squad player. You use him, and if and when you need him. Comes on against Villa. He played a good game against Newcastle, I think, as well. You guys used him many key games, big performances, but you're not using him every single game. So that's something that we never did and we didn't learn. So that's a shame. But I've always liked Jorginho. So should we have kept him? His contract was running out. In hindsight, I mean, some people say yes, because maybe he could have made the integration process easier for our midfielders. But I feel like, it was time to move on. I'm not really looking at it and thinking, yeah, we made a massive error there. I just feel like he's a player that he's a player that did his time. Do you know what I mean? He did his time. He would never have suited Pochettino's football. Never.
I remember when we signed him, and I had
Never.
Lewis on my channel quite a lot, and Lewis was like, "I'm actually quite gutted. I quite like him."
Yeah.
I mean, and like I thought, really, because I was a bit deflated when we signed him. If I'm honest, I was like,
some people were celebrating when he left. I wasn't celebrating. Like I said, I got
Okay.
enough respect for Jorginho. Some people were celebrating, like people were getting really excited. I said, no, I'm not that guy. Like I really like Jorginho.
Yeah.
But if
No,
Poch
that's
is here
fair, man.
now, Jorginho doesn't suit Poch. I couldn't think of a bigger clash between two people, player and manager, in terms of style. Just awful fit. Havertz, you don't need to ask me on.
Well, like, will he have a successful career at Arsenal? Was going to be my question. You know my thoughts on Havertz as well. You listen to my content. I must say, in the last few games,
Yeah.
he's been all right. He's been all
Yeah.
right. And I think his attributes further up the field definitely suit him. I always said we should be using this guy as a different dimension centre forward, as opposed to trying to stick him in midfield where he just clearly ain't working. But him and Trossard have been interlinking well. When he has played at the 9, I have to give him his credit, man. Sometimes you have to just put your hands together and say, do you know what, fair play. But I have my doubts, Matisse. I do. I look at some of his game and I think, or some of the games he's played, and I think, what are you, man? Like, what actually are you? And I was having this conversation probably between the months of, say, September and January. And people like Goonie, Lewis were going, yep, that's exactly what I was doing at Chelsea. That's exactly what I was doing. And fair play to him. In the new year, it's got a bit better for him, man. But you say you made your mind up. Are you with me? Are you like, this isn't going to work out for him long term, or where you at, man?
So when people say, is he going to have a successful career at Arsenal, we have to define what success means. Because for me, when you pay that amount of money, you should be a starter and you should be a major contributor to the team's success. If he is a bench player playing cameo minutes and making impact, for me, that's not a success, because you didn't need to pay 65 million and pay him almost 300k a week, is he on?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
job. That job
Yeah.
can be done by someone in the academy, like Smith Rowe, if he could keep himself fit. That job can be done by someone that costs 30 million on 100k a week. So that is not a success. So trophies and everything, I always have this argument, obviously Man City fans and other successful teams, not every player in a trophy winning team is a successful player. It's a successful team. It doesn't mean each individual has been a success just because they won something. Just like just like a player that is not in a winning team is not just a failure because they didn't win. Not every player in a team that failed to win is a failure. There can be successful players in a failing team, just like there can be failing players in a successful team. And that's just my view on football. Because I'm not going to just say this team won a trophy, so now everybody just success. Like that's not going to work. I watched you. So if he's a key part of the Arsenal team and he starts up front and he's played 30 games and they've won the league, success, 100%. But for me with this player, I think, don't get me wrong, he's been playing really well recently, but I always feel like he leaves something on the table. Like I always feel like he doesn't have enough conviction in his shot or his pass, or he just has this kind of floaty kind of way about him. Off the ball, he seems to work hard, but on the ball, he just has this weird floaty vibe about him that I think if you have that, you got to be an Ozil, you got to be a David Silva, you got to be you got to be that level. And I don't think he is. So, but if Arteta gets the best out of him and he manages to spearhead Arsenal to a trophy, then he'll be successful. But I just look at his time at Chelsea and I think, yeah, you haven't done the business. And then if I look at his time at Arsenal so far, I feel like a lot of the time people are, because he's cost a lot, and this is, our fans do it with Mudryk, right? Similar price, at least our initial fee. Like, because they cost so much, there's a desperateness to validate them for basic shit that really other players do every week.
Yep. Facts.
And they just do it. They just do it, and it's not a problem. But because this guy costs a lot, and he's getting bantered, and he's a media man, and everybody's onto him. It's like, oh, we need to defend him. So whenever he does something that he should be doing anyway, we're gonna really amplify it, like as if it's some massive thing.
And this is the thing. I was seeing him chesting footballs and passing balls, and everyone going, "Have you seen this? This guy, he's been brilliant." And I'm like, he's chesting a ball. Like he's passing a ball. I don't get this. Where's this hype coming from? And that is exactly what it is. What you've just said. It's because he's 65 million and we're desperate for him to work. So everything that he does is magnified. Whereas Trossard, who's doing it week in, week out, actually better. Oh, don't worry about Trossard. He's fine. It's Kai Havertz is the guy. He's the one that's going to be changing it for us. He's going to take us to a title. And I've just not seen enough of that yet. I've seen glimpses of it. And as I say, fair play to him of late. I've been really impressed with him. And I thought he had a really good game against Newcastle. Thought he was really good when he played in the 9 against Liverpool. And he's had some good games. But I'm still not there yet, is all I will say. Away from Arsenal, mate. Last couple of questions before we come to a close. I always ask this one. I ask Hassam and I ask Saeed this. I ask you this. Who do you think deserves a statue next outside Stamford Bridge, bro? Who would you like to see as a fan base get one?
Wow. That's a good one. It can't be any manager because no one's ever done a long enough stint here, unfortunately, because we did the whole hiring firing model. So that just could never happen. Player wise, it's tough. We've got our legends, right? We've got our Terrys, Lampards, Drogbas, Czechs, Hazards.
Who are the statues at the moment? I don't even know.
Just Osgood. Yeah, just one.
Okay.
Just one. Yeah. And he was obviously, way before my time. I won't speak on someone I didn't watch, but the father of Chelsea, the Zola, some people are saying in the chat, first superstar, but maybe didn't pick up enough. Maybe didn't pick up enough of the trophies to maybe warrant. I don't know. It's tough. I think for me, like, I wouldn't mind Drogba. I wouldn't mind Drogba. The thing is with Drogba is that he wasn't this 20, 30 goal striker every year, but he just was such a big game player. He typified Chelsea.
He scored against us every time.
Like, bro, Even though Sharky and them man, like they've just spoken to him on the charity match and they said he supported Arsenal when he was a kid. No, we don't care, because this brother, every time he pulled up against Arsenal, he demolished them. So he can
Yeah, he did.
support whoever he wants, but whenever
did, man.
whenever he played Arsenal, he demolished them. The way that he demolished Arsenal, the way that he took it upon himself in big games, finals, to just be the guy that won it for us many times. I just feel like he typified Chelsea. He was strong. Mentality was on point. He was a bully. Technique, quality on the free kicks. He was just brilliant. So
Yeah, it was.
yeah, for me, he's right up there, man. Obviously, Lampard is there as well. It's probably he was the player that like I first like kind of gravitated to when I went to Chelsea live, and like he's our greatest ever goal scorer and he's incredible. I think his manager stint is the second one. It's a shame. I would have preferred if he just did the first manager stint and just left it there, because I think that first manager stint wasn't actually that bad. Like he took the young players, lost Hazard, Pulisic, 20 years old or whatever he was, got us into Champions League final against Arteta, should have won that, unfortunate. And then was sacked 6 months later. We could have left it there. The second period was just like, oh, you're just here flogging a dead horse. Like it's just depressing. So yeah, man. Yeah, I'd say Drogba. I'd love to have statue, especially the Champions League final as well. Maybe him and Czech.
For me,
maybe him and Czech together.
Yeah,
I think they were in arms at the end.
Yeah.
Petr Cech and Drogba, they were in arms, and at the end because Czech saved some penalties, so maybe them two together would be good.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I remember watching that day. That day, I was in the pub because I remember West Ham went up because it was the playoff final, and then it was Champions League night 2012, and Chelsea were terrible that night. I remember it. That season in terms of Di Matteo and all that. I remember watching that, thinking, don't mind Chelsea winning this because then it ruins Tottenham's Champions League hopes. And I remember when you won it, it was just the way you won it was insane, man. And Drogba, I mean, fair play to him. I hated it. I absolutely hated him because he used to always score against us. Every single final was a Drogba final against Chelsea. It was just horrendous, man. Absolutely horrendous. So fair play to you, my bro. This next one is interesting because somebody mentioned him already. Probably one of my favorite players at Chelsea, if I'm honest. But which of these two do you prefer? Gianfranco Zola or Eden Hazard?
So I'm going to be biased because I lived through Hazard.
Yeah,
I lived through Hazard. No disrespect to Zola, because Zola was incredible. The way he sat down Jamie Carragher, some of his goals, the back heel from the corner, like he did some stupidly insane shit. And people tell me he's like the first superstar and then Hazard is the second. And I have no problem with that because they lived through Zola. But I was really young, so I've only been looking back on Zola, not really living through him. So when I'm talking about what I've lived through Hazard and dribbling past 4 or 5 West Ham players and then scoring and putting Coquelin on his ass and just doing crazy stuff as well. So for me, obviously, I'm going to say Hazard because that's what I've watched. Like with a mind of like, you can watch football in 2 ways. You can watch it as a fan who's just whatever, like you love it, but you're not like going through every detail and tactically, and you're just watching it and hope you win, and if you don't, then okay, next game, and you move on. The pure way of watching it, probably the pure way, the pure younger self. I kind of miss those days of just watching it without thinking of all these other things. Like I didn't care about what was said in the presser. I didn't even know what players were doing outside of the 90 minutes. I just watched the game. I didn't even care what the team was. I said, oh, okay, this is the team. Okay, great. Okay, cool. And then whatever happens, hopefully we win. And then if we don't, okay, next game. So yeah, but Zola was unplayable. Hazard was unplayable. So yeah, but for me, obviously Hazard, I'll go with him. I mean, Hazard's been more successful. He's obviously won bigger trophies as well, which is because he was in a better team. So
yeah. I mean, if you're asking me, I saw both of them at their best. I'm picking Zola, man. Like Zola for me was in that special category. Hazard was incredible, by the way. Because the thing is, when you compare two players, it makes you look like you're saying the other one was rubbish.
Yeah. Zola was incredible, man. The way he used to chop people up.
Embarrassingly good, man. Embarrassingly good. Like him, Bergkamp, Cantona, they all had that kind of special something to them. and he gets in that category for me. Zola was just incredible, man. Coming to the end now, man. This is the one that always gets asked.
Oh,
Lampard or
God.
Gerrard, man. I get bored of this one.
Same.
I do say Gerrard, I do, and you're going to say Lampard, I imagine. I do say
Because
Gerrard.
I have to.
I think in terms, in terms of goals, he leaves him dead in the water, right? Lampard's ridiculous for goals, right?
Yeah.
I look at what Gerrard did in terms of Liverpool lifting them across the side. The side weren't amazing at times. Lampard was very lucky to get him with an unbelievable amount of players, but doesn't take anything away from him.
No.
But I look at what Gerrard did to scrape that team across, how he led from the scruff of the neck and led by example. I always just loved watching Gerrard, and as an Arsenal fan, I appreciated both of them. But I've always gone Gerrard. But to be fair to you, you know, you got to fight for Lampard as well, man.
Yeah, I have to, man, because Lampard gets disrespected. So many iconic moments in our history is because of Lampard, whether it's Bolton away, whether it's Barcelona away with the Ramirez goal, that incredible incisive pass, the goal from the byline. Like, how do you even do that? Do you know what I mean? Clipping Valdez. And like, Lampard is, because he doesn't look, I don't know, maybe he doesn't look aesthetically pleasing to some, I don't know what it is. But I almost would have thought they'd give him more credit because he's not your typical PMP. Like, he was really fit. He never got injured. But he's not like Yaya Toure or Gerrard, like busting, like quick, you know, dynamic and box to box. Like, Lampard had a little bit more of a, you know, move about him where he's obviously, he's got a bit more weight on him. Do you know what I mean? Like, he had to move in a different way. And I thought I'd give him more credit because that's what, but, you know, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, he's incredibly gifted, man. Like, could play any pass, really. Could take any shot, defend, and he's played in that goal scoring midfield role, then backed up into a double pivot in his latter years, played that brilliantly as well. I'm always going to fight for Lampard because it's our all-time goal scorer, won us incredible trophies. But obviously I respect Gerrard. If Gerrard was playing for Chelsea, he would have done incredible things. We tried to sign him. Liverpool fans wouldn't let him go. Would have done incredible things.
Yeah, I remember that.
I would have loved to have seen a midfield of Lampard, Gerrard, and Makelele at the base. That would have been disgustingly good. But yeah, listen, Gerrard's a great player, man. Gerrard's a great player.
Unreal.
But if I'm always throwing banter in there, Lampard didn't slip, bruv. Do you know what I'm saying? He didn't slip when it mattered. He always stood up. He always stood on business, bruv. Do you know what I mean?
I love that, man. Listen, my last question before we get out of here, bro, is in an all-time Premier League combined 11, who do you think gets more players in it? Arsenal or Chelsea? And I'm talking about an all-time combined between the two clubs, not all-time of all clubs. I'm talking about Arsenal and Chelsea. If it's just Arsenal and Chelsea players in the Premier League, how many Arsenal and Chelsea do you think are absolute definites to get in there, man? And who do you think would get in? How many? I
don't think I can answer this question quickly because we'd have to go through it, and it's a lot. It's a lot of players, man. We're talking about Chelsea record breakers for least goals conceded in the Premier League ever in a season, 15 goals. That defense needs this respect. Yeah. We're talking about Invincibles, Arsenal, incredible players in that side. So it's tough, man. It'll take way too long to answer this question, to be honest. Like, this is a whole hour show in itself because we have to go we have to go through all the teams and really take time with it, and it will be close. Because Petr Cech is an incredible goalkeeper. I don't think there's a better goalkeeper between the two clubs than Petr Cech. I really don't. I think he's honestly up there. I think he's top two with Schmeichel. I think John Terry is one of the best defenders in the Premier League ever. One of the highest goal scoring defenders in the Premier League as well. And obviously a leader and a captain. And so, bruv, I could get a lot of players in, but so could you. So this is why I don't want to just give an off-the-cuff answer and say it's us, but it will take some deliberation. It will take some time to go through for sure. It's long.
You know why I love that answer is because there's a lot of people I'd throw that question to that wouldn't answer it in that way. Like, oh, wow, I need some time. They go, probably about 8.
No,
and it's
can't
like,
do that.
It proves to me that you actually do respect the Arsenal of old because a lot of people...
Yeah, of course, the Burgundy boys, bruv. That's what I call them. Yeah, man. Henry, Vieira, Bergkamp, Perez.
There you go.
Bro, this team had me shocked, bruv. Shit, this is when I was first like watching football. I wasn't even supporting Chelsea when this team was bopping it, but I was just watching football, getting into it. That team was scary, man. Black gloves. I'll never forget it. That team was scary, man. Proper it was set. It was a fifth. It was a fearing team, man. So yeah, you have to. But even since then, you've had great players as well. You've had some great players.
Yeah,
Fabregas, Van Persie's a great player. So it's tough, man. It's a lot
yeah,
of
no, fair
players.
play to you, man. I think for me, if I'm going off the cuff like you, Petr Cech. I love David Seaman, by the way, but Petr
Mm.
Cech, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Ashley Cole, who played for both actually.
Yeah.
So he's definitely in. Um, I don't think you can argue with Hazard, and I think Drogba would be one that you'd have to debate with Bergkamp and Henry for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would be tight, man. I think it would be like 6, maybe and 5, or maybe and I don't know what way that
Yeah.
would be.
Maybe one in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be very,
Be
very close,
close.
man. So
Yeah,
look at
man.
that.
Would.
We end the show agreeing. Bro, it's been a pleasure talking to you, my friend. It really has, as always, mate. And you know, I love your content. I love what you
Thank you,
do.
brother.
And I've got to say, I miss streaming with you, man.
Yeah, man.
It was nice and fun, and I miss that
We
banter.
got to
So
link up.
we'll have to make sure we collab again, my
Yeah,
friend.
100%. We got to link up, man. I need this show in person because we have to hold Lawless account because I've seen some clips. Thankfully, you've started putting out clips of your shows, so now I can see some of these big moments, especially from him as well. And it's like,
Some of the madness.
yeah, he needs to be held account, I must say. And obviously, Tobes, we already know that brother. I see him twice a week. I see him enough. So
Yeah, man, 100%, bro, 100%. Listen, you're a legend, man. Thank you so much for
Thank you, man.
joining us, mate, for this hour. It's been a real pleasure, man. And make sure that you do me a favor, people. Make sure you go follow Matisse if you're not already. Make sure you go follow his content. Make sure you like and subscribe to this one. We're almost getting towards our next target, which is 20K. So please make sure you're a part of that community and smash like and subscribe. I'm going to be redirecting you over to a gal's channel now who's literally doing a chat on Arsenal. So make sure you go and follow him over there. And we'll see you next time, people. We're out of here. Peace.